Thank you for being here. We will go ahead and get started. A couple housekeeping things that I want to bring to your attention. If you could stay on mute the entire time, but I think it's going to be a small group. So if you want to come off mute and ask a question, or you can put it in chat. I have Gail with me today. In a few moments, or when I'm switching out recipes, I'll give Gail an opportunity to talk a little bit about her role at Unite for Her, as well as her team. And if this is the first time that you are joining us for a cooking demo, welcome. My name is Michelle. I'm one of the 4 dietitians at Unite for Her. If this is not your first time, welcome back. If there is anyone cooking along, just let me know. I know I did pass out some recipes to a few members. So if you want to take yourself off mute, let me know. If not, Gail can also see if you're in your kitchen. But welcome to my Filled with Flavor class. This is, this is the last month already. Yeah, so the recipes were for July and August. I have one more class after this. If you have not caught Erin's cooking demos, she has 2 more for this month, or actually 1 more for this month. Her theme is noodles. In an hour after the class, you will get recipes. And Gail will also be posting them throughout the class, so you can open up and follow along if you'd like. If not, you will receive them after class, as well as a link to join Erin's class. But if this is your first time joining a cooking demo, we always start off with our food for thought moments. So our food for thought moments are brought to you by our partners at Lilly and Merck. And what we do is we take one ingredient from our recipes and we highlight them. We talk about their nutritional value, different ways to prepare them. They will always be a plant-based food. And we have a whole library of them in our video library. So if you go to that location, there will probably be about 100 videos at this point of different types of foods. So scroll through. If you find something interesting, take a peek there, just quick videos. So, Gail, can you spotlight me? And for today's food for thought moment, we will be talking about mushrooms. So I know mushrooms aren't everyone's favorite. That's okay. And luckily I'll have other ingredients today. But for those of us who love mushrooms, good for you. No judgment if you don't like mushrooms. But there are over 10,000 known types of mushrooms, possibly millions more that have not been discovered yet. And they've been used for medicine for thousands of years for immunity, longevity, energy, not something that we totally rely on as medicine these days, but centuries ago they were, and they are known as immune support superstars. So they contain beta glucans, which support our immune system, as I said, and may even improve our body's response to infections. They are also a good source of B vitamins, which helps us convert our food into energy. They contain potassium, which is important for regulating our blood pressure, and the antioxidants may protect our cells from damage and help reduce inflammation. What is probably most interesting is they can process their own vitamin D. So when they're exposed to sunlight or UV light, they naturally produce vitamin D, which is great because there are not that many foods that include vitamin D. Fatty fish, egg yolks, fortified foods, but also mushrooms that have been exposed to sunlight. So that's any reason to start eating mushrooms, it would be to get more vitamin D into your diet. What I like most about them is they are a great meat substitute. So if you don't like using tofu or tempeh, you can use mushrooms, dice them up, and use them as meat in a taco. Add it to stir fry and soups or egg dishes like frittata, scrambled eggs, egg muffins. You can make a mushroom pizza. So get the large portobello mushrooms, put some sauce, cheese, your favorite toppings, or a portobello hamburger or portobello burger. Same thing, lettuce, tomato, onion, top it with your favorite condiments. My favorite way to have mushrooms is as a side dish. So I'll slice them and I'll saute them with some olive oil, garlic, salt and pepper, and then balsamic, and I'll let it reduce down. The mushrooms will release their liquid, and I'll just have that as a side dish. You can also do instead of a beef bolognese, which is a red sauce made with meat that goes over pasta, you can make a mushroom bolognese. Years ago, I know Erin had a recipe, and Gail, I would even tell you to look for it, but I think it was so long ago that it was before we were even posting recipes on our website. But there are so many good recipes for a mushroom bolognese. You will not miss the flavor. It's a great hearty vegetable, which it's actually not a vegetable, it's a fungi, but it's nice and hearty that you don't miss the meat when you're putting it in a red sauce. And of course, stuffed mushrooms, which I will be demonstrating that this evening. All right, so that was our food for thought moment brought to you by our partners at Lilly and Merck. So let's go ahead and get started. So my first recipe is going to be roasted onion bowls. However, I want to get started on the second recipe and the third recipe. So I will be jumping around a little bit. The first thing that I'm going to do is start with the grilled stuffed Poblano peppers. So I will be grilling my Poblano pepper and my corn. I'll talk a little bit more. I'm just going to coat this with oil. I'll talk a little bit more about the different ways to prepare the Poblano pepper. But right now I just spritzed some olive oil over it. I have a grill top. If you do not have a grill top, that is completely fine. There are so many other ways to grill your poblano or bake it or air fry it. I also did the same thing with corn. So I'm just going to get this started and then it will be ready for me once I get to that recipe at the end of class. The number of the day will be 400. I have both my ovens going at 400 degrees. So whenever I'm throwing things in the oven, it will be at 400 degrees. For the second recipe, my stuffed mushrooms, I will be making a homemade breadcrumb mixture. So I want to get the breadcrumbs in the oven so they can start roasting. So all I did was I took some, I bought sourdough bread and I bought a loaf of it and I froze it. Whenever I make this recipe, obviously for these cooking demos, I've just been pulling out 2 pieces of bread and using that. You can use any type of bread that you would like. I'm using sourdough because I wanted to make it a little more fancy. I chopped it up a little bit. I actually put the crust in the food processor first because it takes a little bit of time to break down the crust a little bit. And then I just did a rough tear and threw my breadcrumbs in there. So plain, just breadcrumbs in the food processor. Let's plug it in. All right. Next, I'm going to just throw them onto a baking sheet. Switch out there it is. Switch out and there is a fly in here that's going to be driving me crazy. You don't have to make your own breadcrumbs, of course, but if you're running around the kitchen doing other things, it is super simple. So just add some salt and pepper. You can add dried parsley if you would like, or fresh parsley. I'm just going to use salt and pepper for this. And this is my sous chef, Bella. She will make an appearance here and there, especially when the knife hits the cutting board. So I just spritzed some olive oil, or you can drizzle some olive oil, spread it out into an even layer, and I'm going to put it in the oven for about 7 minutes. So again, 400, 7 minutes. Okay, so let me get started then with my first recipe, which will be the roasted onion bowls. This is a really neat recipe. Who'd ever thought you would make an onion a bowl, right? It's a beautiful dish, that's for sure. So let me tell you how to prep the onion. So I'm going to slice off the top and the bottom. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that's how the onion is going to sit. Okay, so top and bottom, and then I'm going to cut it in half. I don't know. This is sliding around. After my last August class, I will be throwing away these cutting boards and getting new ones, and that was one of the reasons why. Okay, so get down, get down. Cut it right in half, and then I will take the peel off. Now I will just demonstrate how to do just the one side, so we're not here all night. So now I'm going to carve the flesh out. I'm using a melon baller. If you don't have a melon baller, that is completely fine. You can use a carving knife. You can use a spoon and just use some elbow grease to carve it out. But a melon baller works really well. So you're going to leave like 2 to 3 layers. If you hit the bottom, that is okay because it's going to go into a baking dish in a little bit of broth. So it won't burn what you're cooking because we are going to stuff this. You just go around and you keep carving it out. Okay, so this one did hit the bottom, and again, that is okay. So it looks like a little bowl. Like that. All right. And I'm going to save the flesh because that will become part of the stuffing as well. Before class, I did roast the oven. I did roast the onion, so that's all ready to go. So once I go to stuff it, I will show you what it looks like. These recipes are obviously detailed because it's like a 2-step process. I'm manipulating the shell, and then I'm making the stuffing, and then it has to be baked again. So if it looks like I'm running around, I am, but that's because it's 3 recipes. So please don't be intimidated by the recipes. Once you do them one at a time, they are fantastic. They're a lot of fun to make, and of course, a lot of flavor, right? Okay, so let's move on to the stuffing. I have my skillet over here, and I'm going to be using butter. Now, do not be afraid of butter because we're not going to be using a lot of it. But if you don't want to use butter, that's okay. That's okay. You can use olive oil. And in my stuffed mushroom recipe, I will show you how you can use olive oil instead of butter. But I will be using butter for this. I have my skillet right here. And since this is going to be part of the stuffing, I do want to make sure that it's chopped up really well. So you don't have, I never like it when stuffing, if something is stuffed and there's big chunks. So I like to chop this best I can. If you do not have a red onion, feel free to use whatever type of onion that you have. You do obviously want to purchase an onion that is pretty large, so you have room to carve it out. And that is probably all I will need. And then I will save this onion to use for something else. Okay, so I'm going to put it right in. And I'll let that saute while I start chopping up the other ingredients. Okay. Right, and using ground turkey. You can use ground chicken if you would like. You can make this completely plant-based and stuff your mushrooms with, or stuff your onions with grains or beans. But I am using ground turkey. Remember, if you use ground chicken or if you're using ground turkey breast, it will be a little more dry. So maybe you might have to adjust the cooking time. So here I have panko. You can use breadcrumbs as well. Panko tends to be a little bit lighter. Some Parmesan, not using all of it. And to cut this up, the breadcrumbs. Perfect. All right, so for the herbs, I am going to be using thyme for this recipe. I am using fresh thyme. If you want to use dried thyme, that's okay also. For thyme, these are kind of really wiry. Usually they're wiry and soft. Usually they're a little more hardy. So I'm just going to pull these off like this. Usually it's easier where you can just run your thumb and your index finger down. So I might have some stems in there, but that's okay. It's a pretty delicate herb. If you do not want to use thyme, you can use any herb that you would like. You can stick with just parsley. If I would not buy fresh thyme if you're just going to be using it for this recipe, but if you do want to try fresh thyme and you will use it in other recipes, what I would do is wrap it in a damp paper towel and then put it in a plastic baggie, and it will last for a couple weeks. So you will have another opportunity to use it again. I will also be using parsley. I'm using flat leaf parsley. You can use curly leaf parsley if you would like. And again, a dried Italian mix. If you have that in your pantry, that would work just as well. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I did prep my onions before class. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You can tell the color changed a little bit. It's caramelized. I did spritz some olive oil and cracked some pepper and salt, so it is nicely seasoned. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this with my hands and then stuff the onion, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator. But like I mentioned, you will be using chicken broth. If you want to use vegetable broth, that is fine also. It's nice that it will steam and it keeps the meat and the onion. I'm having trouble going back and forth between onion and mushroom. We're not doing mushrooms yet. It will keep the onions nice and moist as well. So you just need a little bit. I like to use my hands to mix meat. Not everyone does. So that's okay. It just makes it easier. So we have a quiet group tonight. I hope everyone's still there. I didn't lose electricity or lose internet. Good.
We're here.
All right.
We're here and enjoying all of your commentary. It's very helpful.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So just as simple as that.
Michelle, this is Andrew. Normally I talk a lot, but I have pneumonia today, so I'm trying not to talk.
Andrew, how are you? We have not.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'll live.
How's your lovely wife?
It's time for her to play nurse for a few days, and let's just say I'm a better nurse than she is.
Oh,
But
okay. Okay.
but I work in education. I've got a quarter of a century, so patience is a virtue. Trust me. Hi, everybody. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Andrew.
Feel better, Andrew. All right, so I just heard a pop over here, which I was waiting for that. So that's from the grill, but let me get this in the oven. So I'm covering it with foil. All right, and I'm going to put that in there for 15 minutes. Okay, so while that is baking for 15 minutes, I'm going to move on to the, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to add those to the meat. So I'm just going to pour them into this. Actually, you know what I could do? I'm going to top it with a little bit of the onions. I mean, who doesn't want sauteed onions and butter, right? There we go. Improvise. This is why I like cooking over baking, because something like this with baking, you're done. If you forget something, you're done, right? Once it's in the oven. All right. Try this again. Okay, now I will move on to my stuffed mushrooms. So before class, I prepared the mushrooms. So because they were prepared a couple hours ago, they're looking kind of flat. But what I did was I pulled the stem out and I put them face down into a glass baking dish. And I baked them for 10 minutes and I pulled them out. You're waiting for the liquid to release. So if you pull them out and it's been 10 minutes, doesn't matter what the instructions say. If the liquid has not been released, you need to put them back in. So just put them back in 1 to 2 minutes at a time. The liquid was released and then I pulled them out of the oven. So these are ready to go. What I'm going to do now is prepare the stuffing for them, and then I'll bring these back out and I'll stuff them and then I'll put them back in the oven. And if you've never pulled the stem from a mushroom before, just simple, just gently toss it to one side and the stem will come off the mushroom. Just like that. All right, so I have going to use the saute pan again. Now, I like this stuffed mushroom recipe because it is a little bit lighter than traditional stuffed mushrooms. If you've ever gotten them at a restaurant, they are super greasy. They're good, but they're really greasy. So I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. Instead of butter, I'll be using olive oil. Instead of Parmesan cheese, I'll be using nutritional yeast, which I'll talk a little bit about that. So let me chop up some of the ingredients here. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm not going to be using butter, but I'll put a little bit of olive oil. Lucky me, there's still some butter residual that is in there. And I'm going to start sauteing. I diced some onion before class, and I also diced some celery. I'll get that going, but I do want to talk a little bit about the celery. So as I mentioned, for anything that's stuffed, I like to make everything finely diced or chopped really well. So for celery, just cut it into little planks and then turn on its side. I made four little planks, but if you can even go smaller, that's great. I will also add some oregano and parsley. So I'll be using parsley also. If you've not seen fresh oregano, it has, the leaves are a little bit larger. Same thing, if you don't think you're going to use it, then just use dried Italian seasoning or dried oregano, or just use the parsley, but it smells really good. So these you will need to I don't like to use the stem of oregano because the stems are pretty thick. Now, I'll give this a good chop here. And for herbs, for something like this, I hold off on adding it to the saute pan until the end. I don't want to cook it all the way down. I want it to remain fragrant. Here I have some parsley, so I'll chop this up. I am including the stems of the parsley. You don't have to. Depends on the type of recipe that I I'm making, if I include the stems, and some garlic. If you are not a fan of garlic, or if it's not agreeing with you, you can leave it out, use garlic powder. You can use garlic paste, whatever works best. And then, of course, if you want to use any other type of herb or spice, marjoram, I don't know, you can even think outside of the box and add cumin or a little bit of maybe red pepper flakes. So there's a lot of different ways to take this recipe. Okay. Also, these are the stems from the original mushrooms that I baked earlier today. So we're also going to use them as well. So same thing, fine dice. You can use whatever, cremini mushroom, baby bella, button mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, whatever you would like for this recipe. You could even purchase maybe portobello mushrooms and then buy some wild mushrooms and cut them up for the stuffing. So, you have all different types of flavors and textures. I'll tell you one thing, it does smell really good in here. I'll just go with this and then I'll add that to this is plenty. For this recipe, typically I do not use all of the stuffing. I'll have extra, so I just eat it by the spoonful the next day. But of course, if you have extra mushrooms, you can make more. All right, so the next step will be to add, while this is sauteing, let me talk about the nutritional use. Let me add these herbs. It's almost done. All right, so if you have never used nutritional yeast before, it is a deactivated yeast. It just looks like little yellow flakes, and it has this sweet and savory or umami flavor. So if you, oh my gosh, now I have a cat under me also. So let me show you what it looks like. It used to be that the only nutritional yeast that you would find would be from a company called Bragg. It's a big yellow container. That's probably what you will see in most stores. However, if you're local to the area, Wegmans has their own brand of nutritional yeast. Trader Joe's has their own brand of nutritional yeast. You can find it in the health food aisles of grocery stores, the bakery section sometimes has it. I've seen it in the gluten-free aisles. So, but if you were to make a completely plant-based cheese sauce, you'll be using cashews and nutritional yeast. You can sprinkle it over popcorn. You can put it in your soup. So again, it's a nice low salt, low sodium flavoring, and it does have some protein in it, which is weird, but I wouldn't use this as a protein source. All right. So my breadcrumbs, some of them did get a little extra toasty, so I'm going to leave them on the outside. But I will put the non-toasty ones in there, but I do like that they are nice and crispy. I'm going to take a brief moment to turn my pepper and my corn. All right, last but not least, I have some lemon juice here. So the lemon juice is going to bring out the flavor. And I luckily had a lemon over there because part of that lemon had spilled, and that is not enough. Not enough lemon for that. Okay. So again, we have our celery, our onion, oregano, parsley, breadcrumbs. So look how pretty that looks.
Looks yummy.
Yeah. And then last but not least, we're going to stuff the mushrooms. And I will use so I'm just going to use my baking sheet with parchment paper. If you want to use a glass dish, you can do that as well. Since I'm using the glass dish for these onions, I'll use a baking sheet. Okay. Oh, you know what? Use this. All right, so this timer was for the roasted onion rolls. Oh, that's what you saw. So what I did there was I added the rest of the Parmesan cheese. I took the foil off. I added the rest of the Parmesan cheese. That way the Parmesan will turn nice and brown on top. Okay, to the mushrooms. So I'll finish stuffing these. Well, this melon baller is wonderful to stuff the mushrooms. I'll have to remember that. So when I was planning these recipes, it was still cool out. And I didn't think that I'd be doing these in July and August. Running around the kitchen with the oven on, 2 ovens on, and all right. So these are going to go in for 20 minutes. All right. Oh, good. Cat behind me. They were fed. I did feed them before class. So that's it. So they will probably finish around the same time. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a break and clean up and switch out my recipe. Gail, if you wouldn't mind talking about your role and your team's role at Unite for Her and maybe the 5K while I clean up a little bit.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name is Gail Kelly. I am the VP of Operations for Unite for Her, and I basically oversee all of our operational type activities, our care boxes, our care box shipments, our accounting group, IT, legal, all of those sort of functional areas. I've been with Unite for Her for 12 years in various roles. I ran our wellness program when we were much, much smaller and local to the Philadelphia area for a number of years. And now we have grown tremendously over the last 5 years. Our team has grown as well. And so I've moved into a different role. We do have, as you may know, we have 4 signature events each year for fundraising activities. Our next one is our 5K, which is October 18th. It is local to the Philadelphia area in Westchester, Pennsylvania, but is also available virtually for those of you who are across the country can also participate with us as well. It's a great day and a great chance for all of our members and staff and supporters to all get together and celebrate our cause. The one after that is for those who are local. That is our chef event, which is at the Phoenixville Foundry in early November. That's also a great opportunity. We have usually about 25 or 30 restaurants who come and do sort of tastes, light bites. Michele and the nutrition team usually do mocktails for us. It's just a fun evening to have an opportunity to sample all of those and again be together and raise money to allow us to expand our wellness program to even more members. What else can I talk about, Michele?
I know, I'm ready.
Yay!
Keep going. I'm ready. Thank you, Gail. Yes. Gail.
Thank you, Gail,
Gail.
for all the work that you do. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Yes, Gail and her team, a lot of work. We would not know which direction we were going if it wasn't for Gail and her team. So absolutely. All right, so I'm moving on to the last recipe, grilled stuffed Poblano. So if you remember, we have the stuffed roasted, the roasted onion bowls that are stuffed. Those are finishing off. I have the stuffed mushrooms down in that oven. And now I'm going to move on to the grilled stuffed Poblano. So as I mentioned, I have my grill top going on. This is completely roasted. So I'm throwing it in a bowl. I'm going to put a towel over it.
Could you do that in the broiler, Michele, if you didn't have a grill top?
Exactly. So I have this corn grilling. So that's what I did. Sorry, I got distracted. My son just came home after being away a week. So I just got a little excited. Sorry, I'm going to focus now. It's hard to if anyone else walks in the room, I'll ignore them, but not my son. So if you don't have a grill top, that is completely fine. So you can also purchase grill pans that sit on top. It looks like a skillet, but it has the grill lines. If you don't have that, that's okay. If you have any type of grill, outdoor grill, you could do that. But as Gail mentioned, there are other ways the end goal here is to get the peel off of it and to roast it and bring out the flavor. So I've done this where I've just rubbed oil all over it and I put it in the oven, and every few minutes just turn it. And then when it comes out, you put it in a brown paper bag or a dish and you cover it with a towel, and the peel will come off. I don't recommend, which some people have done, if you have a gas oven and you kind of hold it, and that can lead to disaster. So preferably any type of grill top, outdoor grill, roasting it in the oven. I did a recipe a couple years ago where the Poblano peppers were done in the oven. So whatever works best for you, whatever is easiest. Let's talk a little bit about Poblano peppers if you're not familiar with them. So it's called a Scoville heat scale, and it ranks the heat of each pepper. So there was actually a guy, his last name is Scoville. It is the amount of times that it takes sugar water to dilute capsaicin. The capsaicin is where that heat comes from. So it could be 1,000 times it would take sugar water to dilute the capsaicin. So Poblano peppers are a score of 1,000. And you might think, oh my gosh, that's the hottest pepper ever. But no, there's like ghost peppers, and there's something that's hotter than a ghost pepper, and I can't remember. It's like 1,000,000 times. So Poblano peppers are under jalapeno peppers. A 0 are bell peppers. So if you've had a bell pepper, no matter the color, red, orange, yellow, green, there's no heat. That is sweet. It's a 0. So Poblano peppers go up a little bit. It is not something that you need to sit there with a glass of milk unless you're sensitive to heat. There's a little bit of a hit, but it's not terrible, or I would not enjoy it. So I like heat, but I also like to enjoy my food. So if you remove make sure you remove all the seeds, make sure you remove the veins inside, and that helps with the heat also. But it's such a really nice flavor, and it's a nice change if you want to try something besides a bell pepper. However, if you're not interested in heat, if it's not agreeing with you, use a bell pepper. You can do that also. Everything that I'm doing now, you can do with a bell pepper as well. And this is completely plant-based, this recipe. So again, I'll keep this under the towel for a few more minutes, and then I'll peel it, and then we can stuff it. But first, let's go ahead and make the stuffing. This stuffing is really easy to do. And you might be thinking, why would she grill her corn if, especially if it's winter and you don't feel like firing the grill up? You don't have to grill your corn. You don't have to buy corn on the cob. You can simply use canned corn. You can use frozen corn. I recommend, however, if you're using canned or frozen corn, to jazz it up a little bit. So if you're not going to roast it, maybe still throw it in a saute pan, add a little bit of seasoning just to bring out the flavor. So, and canned corn can have sodium, a little bit of sodium. If you are watching your sodium, maybe purchase low sodium, no sodium, or give it a good rinse of water, and that will take some of the sodium off. But because I had the grill top and I was doing the poblanos, I roasted the corn. So the recipe calls for black beans. That's typically what you will see in Mexican cuisine. You can use any type of bean, of course, whatever works for you. So I just threw my black beans right in the bowl. And then with this, I just take my knife, I slice it down like this. This is where I do need the dog because some of the all right. There's the corn right in there. I will be using oregano and cilantro. Now, just like with mushrooms, cilantro may bring out some feelings in some of us. Cilantro, either you love cilantro or you do not. There's usually not a mix. And if you feel that it tastes like soap, you are right. So cilantro has a some type of chemical or compound that's called a soapy aldehyde. And not all of us have the enzyme to break down the soapy aldehyde. So when it's not broken down, you will taste soap because of the soapy aldehyde. It's just like lactose. If someone is lactose intolerant, lactose, that means we don't have the enzyme to break down the lactose. So it's along the same thing as that. Food science was not my strong suit, but so that's the best way to describe the cilantro and the soapy aldehyde. It's actually considered a mutation because that you don't have the enzyme to break down the soapy aldehyde. And sorry to say you have a mutation, but you do. And that's not a bad thing. We all have different types of mutations. So
That would be me.
you don't like it. Does anyone in your family like it?
No, it's interesting. Yeah.
So you can use parsley.
Okay.
You can use parsley. All right. So oregano, cilantro. I have some cumin here. Oh, I forgot I have some garlic also. Ingredient, I will put garlic. You can use garlic powder for this. Also, I don't mind garlic at all. I don't mind biting into garlic. This recipe has a lot of flavor, so you do not need to use garlic. All right. There you have it. So I'm going to give this a good mix, and then I'll stuff the poblano pepper. I did peel and de-seed peppers before class because it can be a little tricky sometimes to peel and all that good stuff. So just for the sake of time, I did it, but I'll still show you what it looks like. All right, so here are my roasted and peeled and de-seeded poblano peppers. That was step one. All I'm going to do is just load this in. And again, you'll have extra. So you can throw this in a salad or just have it as a side dish, maybe add rice or another type of grain to it. All right, I just remembered something's got to come out of the oven because these have got to go up. I don't have a third oven. Let's see, 5 minutes left. I think I'll take the mushrooms out. Oh, the poblano peppers I've also made in the air fryer as well. So there's a recipe for that. And that's a super quick way. Please look. Okay, and it is We have just a few minutes left in class, and I will be finishing everything up in the next 10 minutes, because the star of the show for the grilled stuffed poblano peppers is the homemade cheese sauce, which you don't have to use. But it's really easy to make. So here I have I will be using butter, I will be using cheese. We use cheese as a condiment. So it's not using this whole bowl over the entire poblano. There are several servings in there. All right, so my butter is melted. I'm just going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. Is it a full moon? Everyone's so feisty. The cat's showing up in the picture, and
It's
All
all
right.
that good food. You got everybody excited with the food.
maybe that's what it is. All right, so I just added my milk.
Michelle, what was the second thing you added after the butter?
Flour. So I
sorry.
started off with butter, melted that, added some flour, and it thickened up, absorbed the butter, and then I added milk. I'm going to bring it to a boil and let it thicken up a little bit. And then I'll add cheese, and then it's done. So while that is thickening up, I'm going to pull this back over. So now that it's been covered, the skin, this is probably hard to see on camera, just peels right off. And that's how you, oh, there we go. That was a good one. That's how you peel any type of pepper. If you Google Scoville, it's so interesting just to look at all the peppers to see where they rank. I've never had a ghost pepper. I don't think I think jalapeno is probably the hottest I've ever had. All right, so my milk has thickened up. I'm going to add some cheese. So this reminds me of, if you're a Schitt's Creek fan and fold in the cheese, that's what I'm doing. I'm folding in the cheese. Use the whisk. And that is it. How simple was that?
Ooh.
Okay. This is actually, you know what? I'll start plating while everything's finishing. Okay, so I'll put this aside for now. Let me show you the mushrooms. Okay. So these are the smartly stuffed mushrooms. We used olive oil instead of butter. You can use avocado oil. And I used nutritional yeast instead of Parmesan cheese. You will not miss it. There's a lot of flavor, And slip like. So let's talk about food safety for meat. Ground beef, any type of ground, pork, chicken, turkey, should be cooked to an internal temperature of 165. So what I'll do after class is temp this to make sure that when I put a thermometer in, that it will jump right up to 165 degrees. If it doesn't, I will put it back in the oven, but you can see how the cheese browned on top. The onion is nice and loose. All of the rings are starting to come apart. So it is a very tender dish, a lot of flavor. This is definitely a complete meal. And last but not least, the Poblano pepper. Okay. So now I'm officially sweating. Did drop the air down a little bit before class. Okay. Here we go. Right. Okay, so cheese as a condiment. We're just drizzling a little bit to finish it off. Add a little bit of salsa as well for color. Okay, and that is the grilled stuffed poblano pepper.
Beautiful.
That's great.
You know, a lot of different flavors.
I'll be over, Michelle. I haven't figured out what we're having for dinner yet.
You're not that far, Gail. You're really not that far. All right, so there you have it. Our filled with flavor recipes. It looked like a lot of work only because I was doing all three at once, but really when you're doing them by themselves, they're not bad. They're not bad. So with that, any questions? All right. Well, I appreciate everyone joining. Gail, thank you for joining. And we are always looking for testimonials. So once you receive a follow-up email, if you wanted to talk about your experience with the class, what you liked, what you didn't like, what you learned, we always appreciate that. We like to share that with the rest of our community to encourage them to join our classes. And that is it. Make sure to check out Erin's noodle class if you haven't already. And have a good evening and a great weekend. Bye, everybody.
Thanks so much. That was wonderful.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.